Sahadev Sharma covering the Cubs for The Athletic joining us now. And how do the Cubs plan to upgrade their offense this season, and do those plans include Harper, Bryce?
Yeah, I think they'd love to get Bryce Harper. I think the reality is their financial situation doesn't really allow them to do so at the moment. But that doesn't mean they can't pull off a Dodgers-like move that we saw earlier this month. We know Theo Epstein wants Bryce Harper. He's never afraid to make a big splash. He's never afraid to make a big addition. Bryce Harper would be the perfect fit for what he described as an offense that broke somewhere along the second half. He knows there's upgrades to be made. The problem is it's not as easy to make those moves, to shed payroll, which they need to do because they have put themselves in a financial situation where they just can't spend freely. So if they can't do that, if they can't move a Jason Hayward, if they can't move a Tyler Chatwood, then they're going to have to hope for internal improvements. It's not going to be any big splashes to upgrade the offense. And that's not as crazy as it sounds. Chris Bryant had a major shoulder injury that really limited him last year. First month and a half, go look at the numbers before the injury. He was on an MVP run. He looked better than he ever has, really. Anthony Rizzo, you eliminate that bad April. He looks like himself. Willson Contreras needs to get back to the player that he was in 2017, driving the ball. Players like that, if you can have that, Kyle Schwarber bounce back and really take it to another level offensively, I think it's not crazy to see offensive improvements come in internally. But ideally, coming off a season, yes, it was 95 wins. Yes, it was another playoff appearance. But this Cubs team is at a different level. They have higher expectations than just one postseason game. So ideally, you'd love to see them add that big bat. Bryce Harper would really fit in nicely, obviously. Sure. But I'm not sure just how realistic it is. But there are indications that it's not completely eliminated. They just need to figure out a way to make it work.
Well, it appears that Brandon Morrow is going to start the season on the injured list. So how are the Cubs going to address their bullpen around him going into 2019?
Yeah, that's a big issue. It came as a surprise that he would not be ready to start the season. It surprised a lot of onlookers, even some within the organization at the time. I think what they need to do, I think this is their biggest focus. Yes, they need to upgrade the offense. Yes, there are little other things that they need to adjust. But now you need two high-leverage arms. You can't go into the season with Brandon Morrow on the shelf and expect that he's just going to come back and be 100% at some point, whether it's May, June, or July. This is a guy with an extensive injury history. You need multiple high-leverage arms, and they've always preached that you need depth in the bullpen to make it through a long season. So where do they go? I think that's a big question. They didn't have the money to compete for a guy like Andrew Miller. A lefty would make a lot of sense. Zach Britton would be perfect. But again, if they're going to spend, they need to shift salary around. And if they do that, they want to go get Bryce Harper. So it doesn't really make sense to spend big bucks on a reliever, but you need to fill holes. Guys like Brad Boxberger, Blake Parker, guys that were DFA'd that make a lot of sense, that have high upside, that may not break the bank. That would make a lot of sense. I think they're waiting out the market right now. This is a slow-moving market once again. We may not see many more moves until the new year. So they're going to be patient. They're going to see what they can get that won't cost a ton of money. And maybe it's not an obvious name. Maybe it's not a name that's going to rock Cubs fans' world. But it's going to be someone that they hope has a ton of upside and can move into a high-leverage role quickly because they need it. They need as many arms as they can get, especially with Morrow down.
And what about the notion that they were in the market for a veteran backup catcher?
Yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense. I mentioned Willson Contreras before. He caught the most innings of any catcher last year. He's a young guy. He's always had a veteran behind him. This year he did not have that veteran there the entire season. It's been Miguel Montero, David Ross, Rene Rivera is a free agent, and he was there for a couple of months in 2017. I think he'd make a lot of sense. There are other names that make plenty of sense. Guys, I mean, what you're looking for is the typical veteran leader, guy that knows how to play defense, guy that knows how to handle a staff. This is a veteran staff. They don't want someone that behind the plate that is going to take a lot of time to get to know them, that is going to confuse them or not be on the same page with them come the regular season. So a veteran guy makes a ton of sense there. I think there are a few options if you look at the free agent list. I hate to keep saying this, but it's going to come down to cost. I know that's not a big break the bank type move, but every single move you have to look at with how much is this going to cost, how much does it add to the payroll, and how much are they going to be able to have on other moves. It's all coming down to the payroll this offseason. It's a weird place for the Cubs to be in. It's never really been like that when they've been winning under this regime, but suddenly we're in a different era of Cubs offseason.
Sahadev Sharma covering the Cubs for The Athletic. Hey, we appreciate the time. Thanks.